Hello and welcome to W.I.S.E. I'm Rosie Acosta. W.I.S.E. stands for Women Inspiring Success and Empowerment. This is a 10-part podcast series featuring interviews with successful, inspirational women in business, art, entertainment, and more. The way we communicate with each other has evolved over time. If you don't believe me, try to send a TikTok to your grandmother. How much of what we communicate is primal? Can our methods of communication make us happier, more well-adjusted people? Just by what we say and how we say it, we can stop conflicts and arguments before they even start. But what about our communication with ourselves? Do those methods still hold true? Today, I'm joined by Marisa Peer, author, speaker, hypnotherapist, and inventor of Rapid Transformational Therapy. She has been named Best British Therapist by Men's Health magazine and featured in Tatler's Guide to Britain's 250 Best Doctors. She makes some incredible claims of how communication with oneself and one's feelings can cure problems in many aspects of our lives. Let's jump into this engaging and enlightening conversation with Marisa. Marisa, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so excited to be with you. This is the third time I've interviewed you. Do you know that?
Isn't that amazing? 3 times.
I can't believe that. So it's been three years ago, I think I started Radically Loved Radio. But I'm excited to talk to you on this platform now because I really admire everything that you do. And obviously, I'm a big fan of yours and everything that you teach. And one of the things that I have always been wanting to ask you about is revolved around how we acquire wisdom and just really what wisdom means. And I think, especially now in the age that we're in, where everything comes so instantaneously, we're in a world of instant gratification and everybody wants to do everything quickly, get rich quick, find love quickly. Everything is so quick. And I feel like so much of what you teach has more to do with creating a really solid foundation for sustainability and happiness and longevity. And I think that wisdom is one of the most important things that we can have, especially as women. So I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were on how it happens and what you think wisdom is.
Well, I think wisdom, being wise, we used to believe that, you became wise as you got old. You'd have the wise old sages. And I've always said that, if you don't, I don't do aging, I do saging, because the older you get, the smarter you get. I love the fact that in China, they say you're nothing till you're 70 because you haven't had enough life experience to have an opinion. And I find that all countries that value older women, like France, China, Japan, I love that they see all older people, not just women, men too, as fascinating and having something to say. And it is true with life, as you get older, you get wiser. You look back at your 20-year-old self and think, gosh, if I knew now what I knew then, I wouldn't have all those insecurities. But I would say modern day wisdom is really understanding that we're still tribal people. We have these very modern bodies, but we have tribal souls, we have tribal thinking, and understanding how you're wired is really wisdom. I mean, you can read all the books in the world and have a great intellect, but if you don't understand yourself, it doesn't mean anything. And so, for instance, when I work with people who are having weight issues and they get very upset and they go back to the doctor or back to the nutritionist or back to the gym and go, I just can't lose weight. And they go, try harder. But actually, if you understand wisdom, you understand that nature really wants you to gain weight. As far as nature is concerned, it's such a great idea. So we have all this wiring. One of them is that when we see food, we eat it. We've all done that. I'm not hungry, but, the food is there. My husband's come home with pizza, and I've seen it, smelt it, and I've eaten half the pizza. I'm like, what was all that about? Well, it's about your wiring. Because if you lived in a tribe, and the hunters came back with antelope, we go, I'm not in the mood for antelope. I'm not in the mood for fish, and you skipped it. 3 days later, when you'd had no more protein, you think, that was so crazy. I should have eaten the fish when it was there. And so we are hardwired to want to eat food when we see it. And that's why most airlines don't tell you the menu, they show you pictures. It's why stores put the most tempting food at the checkout, because they know that if you see it, you want it. We're also wired to remember where sugar is and always keep going back for more. And if only people understood that, they wouldn't beat themselves up. My kid came home with a cake and I woke up and I kept going back to the fridge and eating it, and I feel so out of control. But actually, nature thinks that's incredibly smart. I go to Africa a lot, and the honey finders are the most prized members of a tribe, because bees aren't stupid. They don't say, here's a hive, come and raid me. They hide it. And so in primitive times, whenever you found honey, that was such a treat. And you probably only found it once or twice a year. And you'd go back for more. You'd wake up and think, I've got to go back and finish that honey. Or if you found some ripe mangoes, you wouldn't think, the mangoes have got a lot of fructose, I'll just have half. You'd keep going back till it was all gone. And that was very clever, because you didn't get sugar that often. And then you could lay down fat for the lean times. Problem is now that you might sit at your desk with a vending machine with Kit Kats in it, but your primitive brain goes, these are so scarce, they're going to run out any minute. You need to really eat 3 Kit Kats. And we don't understand that what we fight our bodies, but their wisdom is important. And once you understand, nature wants me to eat sugar, it tells me to go back more, because it was a survival instinct. Nature wants me to eat for the minute it's in my line of vision. And when I start eating, the more I eat, the more I'm programmed to eat more. So if you keep eating variety, you stimulate your appetite. If you had a bowl of strawberries, you'd eat them. But if you had strawberries, blueberries, kiwi, mango, you eat way more. Because every time you have a new taste and texture, you re-stimulate your appetite. And I find women especially beat themselves up for doing what nature wants you to do. So when you understand nature, you think, it's not me, it's my wiring. Then you get this choice to dialogue with yourself. So something very wise I see with people is they go, I've got chicken in the fridge at home, or I've made this salad, and I'm at the train station and my train's delayed, I've got an hour to get home, and I suddenly think, oh my God, I got it. And I'm eating taco chips and Haribos, and what is that about? Well, not long ago, the thing you died of more than disease was hunger. And we're scared of being hungry. To this day, we think I'm dying of hunger. We say things like, I'm starving, I'm ravenous. Although most of us have never been starving in our entire life. But we're wired to fear hunger. When you understand it, when you have the wisdom to go, this is a natural wiring. My brain thinks I'll die if I don't eat. And all I have to do is say to my brain, listen, in an hour I'm going to have lovely chicken and salad, and it's all there, and I'm choosing to eat. And my brain goes, okay, in an hour, that's fine. I'll turn off now the desire to mainline Haribos, because in an hour you're going to have good food. So wisdom is really the ability to dialogue with yourself. We're all taught, if you can dialogue with your customers, you'll have a great business. If you can have really good communication skills with your partner, you'll have a great marriage. But no one says, you know what, if you can dialogue with yourself, if you can communicate with your mind and tell it what you want, you'll have a great life. So that's real wisdom, being able to truly dialogue with yourself in a way that your mind not only gets it, it acts on it.
Yeah. Well, I love that wisdom, one of the definitions is to acquire knowledge through experience.
Yeah.
Right?
What's that expression? Intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad.
That's good.
Yeah, I think so too.
Really good.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to be wise. But wisdom is really not something you learn, from a degree. It's not about your intellect. It's about your emotional intelligence, understanding behavior. Understanding why your kids play up, understanding why your partner is difficult or cold, understanding someone else's behavior that would have really annoyed you and thought, well, this person is just insecure or lonely or feels inadequate. I think that's real wisdom, looking at other people and not letting them get to you and having compassion instead of feeling annoyed.
Yeah, I think that we're so quick to be reactive. I mean, even we were talking about before we started recording about looking back, when you're 20 years old or when you look back, even as a teenager, and you think, wow, I'd never want to relive that age ever again.
No,
But
never.
when you're in it, you feel like you're so wise, and you feel like you have so much knowledge. I remember being a teenager and rebelling against my parents and the system, everything, and thinking that I knew everything, best.
Yeah. Well, that's what Mark Twain said. When I was 20, my parents were complete idiots. It was amazing how much they'd learned by the time I was 35. And I love that. I love saying some sayings. Sayings, I find, have innate wisdom in them. One of my favorites is, the feeling that cannot find its expression in tears will cause other organs to weep. And the person who wrote that had such wisdom, because he's really saying that feelings are the most real thing you have. If you don't let them out, they're going to find another way to express themselves, as headaches or skin problems. And, we all keep trying to push our feelings down using food or shopping or alcohol or anything not to feel. When you try to push your feelings down, they just regroup and come back stronger than ever. But if you say, well, maybe I should just feel the feeling, and then it will go away. That's wisdom, understanding that your feelings are the most real thing you have, and you can fight them, ignore them. You can try to eat your feelings, shop your feelings, Netflix your feelings, eBay your feelings. You can even try and have sex not to feel your feelings, but they just come back. They're like children in a classroom, and if you don't notice them, they get more and more loud. And it's easy just to go, oh, what am I feeling? I'm feeling jealous. Or say, you shouldn't feel jealous. Who are you to feel jealous? That's like saying you shouldn't be diabetic. It's what you are. And it's much better to go, yeah, right now I'm feeling resentful or jealous or angry or irritated. Today I could quite cheerfully give my kid away. It's how I feel this morning. It's kept me up all night. When you say it, it's not that you're going to act on it. The feeling then goes away. But if you keep pushing it down, it just comes out as rage.
Well, how do you then discern when a feeling will go away or an emotion will go away, and when a feeling or an emotion needs to be expressed?
Oh, okay. Well, I think all feelings need to be expressed on the whole. It's what I call AAA. So if you want to have inner peace and be completely sorted and evolved and not be plagued with all kinds of illnesses, 70% of which real illnesses, but they're not caused by the body, they're caused by the mind. Doctors will tell you 70% of people going to A&E have real symptoms. The headache is real, the irritable bowel is real, the pains are real, but they're caused by an unhappy mind, not a diseased organ. And if you want to not let that happen, you have to do what I call AAA. So the first thing is be aware of what you're feeling. I'm feeling rage that my sister's just got engaged and is getting married, and that's so unfair because I've just been dumped. Or I'm looking at the woman in the store and I'm furious because she's got 3 kids and I can't even get pregnant. And we think, well, I mustn't feel that. I mustn't feel that. Push that feeling away and just go and eat some Krispy Kreme donuts instead. But in fact, the truth is you should first of all be aware of what you're feeling. Then you have to accept it. Don't go, who am I to feel... there are people starving all over the world. I shouldn't be upset because my clothes don't fit, or I shouldn't be upset because I haven't got a promotion, at least I have a job. And that, when you're doing that, you're not being aware or accepting. So be aware of what you feel, then accept it. Right now, I feel insanely jealous. Today, I could quite happily smack my husband, or maybe not so. I could quite happily today, my husband's left his pants on the floor again, there's dirty dishes in the sink, I could quite happily throw those dishes at him. So accept it. And then the next thing is you've got to verbalize, you've got to articulate it, and you've got to say, darling, when you leave your dishes in the sink every night, I feel like throwing them at you. Doesn't mean you will. People who say that never do it. It's the people who don't say it, they just end up erupting. So however crazy your feeling is, be aware of what you're feeling, and then completely accept it, and then articulate it. That's very easy. Now you're going to go, look, I feel like throwing my boss's coffee on his head. I've just made him a coffee. I'm not a secretary. I'm a business partner. He's made me coffee, and then I come in and he's stolen my idea, and I could quite cheerfully tip that coffee in his lap. That's my feeling. He's saying I should act on it. No. you go out of the room and go into the bathroom, turn on the taps, then you go, I'm feeling so angry with my boss because he undermines me and he's stolen my ideas. I'm aware of it, I'm even saying it out loud, but I've got the taps running or the toilet flushing so he can't hear. And now I'm leaving the bathroom and the feeling's gone away. Or I'm at least thinking, I'm going to have to find a way of dialoguing with this boss and saying, this is my idea. And by the way, I don't feel comfortable making you coffee, but you won't do it in a rational way. So wherever you are, when you can be aware of it, accept it, and articulate it, it leaves. But it also leaves with the ability to think, okay, this is a situation, I must take charge of this. It's when you not aware of it or won't accept it and never verbalize it that it keeps returning. Then you start to have nightmares and dreams and think, I'm just always angry or irritable. That's just my personality. No, it's you're suppressing something that needs to be looked at.
Wow, that's the best advice, I think. And it's something that's so easy to do that everybody could, it doesn't matter what age you are, anybody could do it. And I think it's one of those things that it's like meditation or yoga, you practice because you forget.
Yeah.
We're so quick to forget all of the things that we can do to make us feel better.
One of my clients was saying that her mother-in-law was the mother-in-law from hell, and they had to go and have Sunday lunch there, and she'd turn up, and then the mother would say things like, you see, this is how to cook a proper chicken. I know you can't cook. My poor son, I mean, really, surely you can cook. Anybody can cook. What's wrong with you? And she said, I would just sit and eat all this food, so furious that this woman undermined me. But I couldn't say anything. She's my mother-in-law, makes waves. My husband doesn't want me to upset her. He said, she's like that with everybody. And then I did the AAA. I became aware of how I resented her, and I accepted it. And then I thought, okay, I'd go in the bathroom and say, I really resent Brenda. Who does she think she is? How dare she talk to me like that? She said, and after a few weeks, I managed to say to her, Brenda, I'm a perfectly adequate cook. And by the way, if Tom wants better chicken, he can cook it himself. He's a grown-up man. And I feel really sorry for you that you're stuck in this time warp. But I'm not going to let you diminish me like that anymore. And she said she stopped being horrible and she started to be really nice to her. And then later said to me, I've always envied you because I wanted to be a career woman, but I had to stay at home and cook. And I feel like I don't have a role anymore because everyone's left. My husband's dead, my sons have left, and I've got nothing to do except cook. And I'm jealous of you because you've got the life I always wanted. And then they became friends because they both had this complete understanding of each other. The mother-in-law was jealous and would have a little go at her, and the daughter-in-law felt put upon. But when they both saw what it was really about, they were able to forge a much nicer friendship.
Yeah, I think that the key of what you just said is having that conscious, mindful interaction, or to be able to express themselves to another person in a very logical, sound way.
Yeah.
But what happens when you're not feeling sound and logical and you want to just be reactive?
Well, that's when you go back to, again, be aware, accept it, but just say it yourself. Right now, I'm furious. I really resent my best friend. She didn't even turn up at my birthday lunch. Or, I always remember her birthday. She's forgotten my birthday. That's really hurt my feelings. And you say it, and then you get all the energy out of it. And then you can ring your friend later and say, I love you. You're my friend. But I was really upset that you didn't remember my birthday. You didn't turn up at my birthday. But you have to let the energy, sorry, that sun is getting right in my eye. You have to let the energy out of it first. It's almost like, if you've got a very difficult call to make, if you're smart, you'll rehearse it. So you've got to fire someone or ask someone for money. Smart people go, I'm going to rehearse this. I'm going to write it down. And then when you contemplate the call, your brain goes, you've already done this. This is easy. Remember, you did it. Because when you rehearse something, your mind believes you've already gone through it. When you do it again, it becomes very easy. And so if you do the AAA and you've got to grips with your feeling, when it comes to say to someone, So, for instance, at my wedding, we were only allowed to have X amount of people for insurance. I think we could have 100 people. It cost probably $200 per person. And I couldn't invite some people. And there were 6 people who just didn't even turn up. And I was really upset that they didn't even tell me they weren't coming because I catered for them. And so one of them, my cousin's wife, said, well, I didn't come because I don't know you. I said, but well, if you'd come, you might have got to know me. And you should have called me. You know, it cost me $250, you not turning up. It was really rude. But I didn't say it with animosity. I just said it was really disappointing that you didn't tell me I had people on the waiting list I really wanted to invite. But I invited you because you're family. And I don't mind that you didn't come, but I mind that you didn't tell me you weren't coming. And because the other way of being very wise, and this is probably the most important of all, your feelings are always trying to come out, and the feelings that do the most damage are unexpressed hurt. Unexpressed hurt will find all kinds of outlets, and people who are very evolved can say, you know, I love you, Rosie, but you really hurt my feelings when you didn't show up at my wedding, or really hurt my feelings when we arranged to meet and you showed up an hour late. But they say it in a nice way, but I still love you, I'll always love you, but you hurt my feelings. And then it's gone, because most rage is nothing more than unexpressed hurt. And the trick is always to express the hurt as quickly as you can. And so that's a very wise thing to do, to say, you hurt my feelings, or my feelings got hurt when. And it stops people doing it again. Because often they have no idea. They think, oh, I'm always late, nobody cares. You go, no, I care. I stood in the rain, in the cold. I could have done stuff. And I really want, you know, it's a bit like, you know, let's imagine you get together with someone and birthdays are not a big deal for them. They don't care about it. They would never say. They're a huge deal for you, and you don't tell them. And you think there's some kind of psychic that's going to know exactly what you want and how you want it wrapped up, and they come in and they don't get you even a card. And then you have this rage. You've got to say to people early, look, birthdays are a big deal for me. I like a gift. I like it wrapped up with a bow on it. I want a card that plays jingle bells when I open it. I know that's Christmas. But when you tell them what you want, they'll give you what you want. People go, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not even going to tell that person. They're going to forget my birthday because they don't care. And then I'm going to be furious. Then I'm going to punish them and sulk and bang the dishes down, when it's easier just to say, by the way, you know it's my birthday on Thursday, and I know you want to celebrate it because you know it's important to me. Rather than thinking, I'm not even going to tell that person. I'm going to wait to let them hurt me, and then I'll hurt them back. What's the point of that? Just tell people early on. My little girl said to me, Mummy, you know, when you come in the house, you always go and play your messages on the answering machine before you come and see me. And that hurts my feelings, because I brought her. And so I said, oh, I'm glad you told me that. I can see that that would be really hurtful. So I won't do that again. I'll come and see you and then play the messages back.
That's so good.
And I love so easy.
This episode is brought to you by Biooptimizers. What is the #1 mineral to fight stress and fatigue? Magnesium. But not just any magnesium. The one I recommend is Magnesium Breakthrough, because it combines all 7 essential forms of magnesium into one convenient supplement. Most magnesium supplements fail because they are synthetic and not full spectrum. When you get all 7 critical forms of magnesium, pretty much every function in your body gets upgraded, from your brain to your sleep, pain and inflammation, and less stress. With this one simple action, you can reverse magnesium deficiency in all its forms. Go to www.biooptimizers.com/wise to get a 10% discount with the coupon code WISE10. That's BIOPTIMIZERS.com/wise, WISE, to get a 10% discount with the coupon code WISE10. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals? I know that the last couple of months for me and a lot of people I know, it has been such an emotional upheaval, up and down. This is coming from somebody who's been in and out of therapy for the last 15 years. BetterHelp will help assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line, it's not a self-help, it's a professional counseling service done straight online. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas, especially with a lot of things being closed down right now. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You'll get a timely and thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room, as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so that they make it easy for you and free to change counselors if you need. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily. Visit betterhelp.com/wise. That's better, HELP, and join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. Today, they're offering our listeners for the WISE podcast 10% off of your first month if you visit betterhelp.com/wise. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/wise, WISE, to get 10% off of your first month. And now back to our show. I wish that I could just channel you and your beautiful English accent when I have these conversations, because it just sounds it sounds so nice and lovely. And I think that doing what you said about preparing before you have an important conversation is really the key. So I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions before we finish.
Sure.
Because I want to be respectful of your time. I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when I say the following words.
Okay.
The first thing, it could be a quote, a statement, just the first thing that comes up. Women.
Women rule the world.
Inspiration.
Inspiration is everywhere. Let it in.
Success.
Success doesn't come to you. You have to go to it.
Empowerment.
Empowerment is what RTT does. My method of therapy is all about giving people empowerment and freedom.
That's probably the best, the best answer. Can you tell us a little bit about RTT?
Yeah, RTT is amazing. I've been a therapist for amazingly more than 30 years, and I love it so much. I'll never do anything else. I mean, I'm very lucky because I'm a speaker and a writer and a broadcaster. But Einstein said, simplify, simplify, simplify. And I must admit, some people found therapy so complicated. And recently somebody rang me up and wrote to me and said, how dare you put the words rapid and therapy in the same sentence? Don't you know that therapy is long and painful? It's a journey every day to crawl out of your pain, but you never quite make it. And I don't know what carnage you leave behind in your life. So I wrote back and said, well, I don't leave any carnage behind. I make people better. I've got this great therapy that I created. I'm very proud of it. And I said, and by the way, I got this letter this morning. Somebody wrote to me and she said, I wanted to kill myself so badly. I was just Googling the distance from my balcony to the floor, because if I jump, I wanted to die, not live paralyzed. And then I found you on YouTube, and in a day, everything changed. I began to go, I'm enough, I matter, I'm significant. I never would have thought that could make such a difference. So I sent to him, he went, that's one letter. I'm like, well, I think one letter is quite enough, don't you? I think if you stop one person killing yourself, isn't that enough? I mean, you're a therapist, and you're telling me that's not enough. So I'm really sorry for you, and I'm really sorry for your clients. If you believe that therapy is a world of pain you try to crawl out of every day without success. So it's not that I wanted to take therapists on, because therapists aren't good people. They want to make a difference, but the whole model of therapy is very broken. I mean, there's no other treatment in the world where it says, bring me your pain and we'll have a discussion about it every Friday for 7 years. No dentist would say, you've got an infected wisdom tooth, come in and we'll have a conversation. They go, we've got to get that toxic stuff out of there. You're going to have a heart attack if you leave your gums infected. No doctor says, you've got a broken arm, well, let's discuss it. If we don't set that, it will set broken forever. And it's such a strange thing that we've sold people. Bring me your pain every week and we'll discuss it. It's like, well, that's not really quite good enough. I want to get over my pain. You know, my clients come in and they have a lot of physical things, terrible headaches, extreme migraines, blushing, stuttering, stammering. And, you know, life is too short to talk about it when you could fix it in an hour, when you could get rid of something in 1 hour. So last week I was training in LA teaching my course, which you must come to the next one. And the girl in my class kept falling asleep and she said, I have narcolepsy. I've had it since I was 16. I'm on really intense medication. I haven't had a job for 20 years and my medication costs $14,000 a month. She didn't have to pay for it, but she was worried that one day her Medicare would say, I've had enough of insuring you.
Yeah.
And so when I worked with her in the session, she first told me that her father left when she was 4, but she didn't know he'd left. She thought he was working away. And then when she was 10, her sister told her the father was gay. And then when she was a bit older, her sister was murdered. And I said, well, that's why you have narcolepsy. People have lied to you and hurt you your entire life. And your mind believes you can't cope with the truth because you never knew what the truth was, so you just sleep. And she said, that's amazing. But the next day, she didn't have narcolepsy. She hasn't had it since. It was only a month ago, but she was at my audience with Marisa in downtown LA, and she was telling the whole course, you know, I had this for years. And then I had a girl with intense burning who every time she went out in the normal daylight, not even sun like this, would burn. So she was condemned to only going out at night in the dark. She worked as a coach in the house. She couldn't go out in daylight at all. And when I worked with her, she said, you know, when I was a little kid, I was bullied really badly, and my mum was a single parent. Well, you can't be at home. You're just going to have to suck it up. I mean, I can't help you. I've got to go to work. Well, a horrible life. I'm a single parent with no money. Go to school, deal with it. I said, what did you think? She said, I wished I could stay at home every day. That's all I wanted, to stay at home. Then she goes, and then I got bullied even more. And what did you want? She said, I just wanted to stay in the house and never leave. Very seductive for a kid that's being bullied to stay in the house. You watch TV, you eat food out of the fridge. And what long-term therapy misses is the fact that every time you say something like, I don't want, my mum's husband looks at me in such a weird way, and I don't want a man to look at me like that, or I must get attention, or I must find a way of stopping my parents' fight. To your mind, that's a command, and the mind says, do anything and everything. You want people to look at you, I'll make you obese. You want more attention, I'll give you a nervous twitch. Your dad wants you to be a straight-A student, it's too much for you, I'd just give you this chronic fatigue or terrible headaches. Now it doesn't expect anything of you. And so we unconsciously tell our mind that we want these symptoms. Of course we don't want them, but we think we do. And then the mind doesn't switch, well, you're 25 now, you don't live with that dad. It keeps it going all your life. And so many people with obesity especially have at some stage, I don't want anyone to look at me. I don't want anyone to look at me. I worked with a girl who had chronic anorexia, and she'd been sectioned. It was so bad. And when I asked her, because I always asked them, you know, let's go back, and what did you tell your mind you wanted? She said, well, I found my dad looking at porn, and he was like touching himself and panting like a dog. And my first thought was, oh my God, I never want any man to ever look at me like that. Excuse me for 1 minute. I'm just find a tissue. Can you pause that for just a minute? Yeah. Sorry. That's just sun. It's making my eyes run. Now it's making my nose run. Hold on. I'll be ready. Okay. Shall I pick up the whole story again?
No, we're fine. We can probably just cut it out.
So she said, when I saw my dad doing that, I thought a thought. I never want any man to ever look at me like that. And I don't want my dad to look at me like that. She said, and I thought about that a lot. And of course, she told him, I don't want a man to look at me. And then when you become anorexic, your ovaries don't develop. No man looks at you in a lusty way because you forever have the body of an 11-year-old boy. Even more interesting enough, I was telling my class, the people I was training, this story. And one of them said, well, that's so weird because I am morbidly obese. And my dad used to look at me in the street and go, look at her. Look at her, she wants it, walking around like that in those tight clothes. She's just a slut. And I thought, I don't want any man to talk about me like that. I couldn't bear it if my husband spoke about me like that. And in getting really fat, no one ever did speak about her like that because she totally disguised her body. They both did. Mm. So we think a thought, unaware that the thought we think is a blueprint. Every thought you think, and in fact every word you say is a blueprint, and your mind goes, right, I got to make that happen now. When we say it would kill me if my relationship ended, I'll die if I have to speak in public. If I have to do this commute on the 405 one more week, I'm going to jump off the freeway.
Yeah.
We say these crazy things, but the mind goes, you're going to kill yourself if you have to go to that place called work. You're going to die if your boss pulls you up one more time. That presentation is going to make you kill yourself. Why don't I just give you a lovely ulcer so you can't go to that place called work? You never have to go on that thing you call a freeway, and now you're safe because that's your mind's job, keep you alive on the planet. And it doesn't really discriminate by what you do to be safe. It's a bit like a child who wants attention. They don't think, should I get good attention, positive attention? Usually they just go, just lie on the floor in the store and start screaming because I want my mum to notice me. And the mind is very much the same. If you say, I just want to have a week off lying around on the sofa, you'll get the flu. When you say, I'm dreading having to go to that presentation next week, I give anything to get out of it, you probably wake up with chronic diarrhea or a terrible headache. Your mind goes, there you are. You said you don't want to go, and I got you out of it. But the mind doesn't think, okay, you want attention. Shall I get you good attention, logical, positive attention? Ben just says, I'll get you attention. I'll give you a nervous tick, and you'll always have attention.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, and we talked about something similar on the podcast that we've recorded before, so I can link that up.
Okay.
For the people that are listening or watching this on YouTube that have gathered so much value from everything you've already said on this podcast, on this interview, if you can say one thing to women everywhere of all kinds of backgrounds and cultures and languages, what would you say to them?
Fall in love with yourself. When you fall in love with yourself, you give the whole world permission to fall in love with you, and recognize that you're not the numbers on your birth certificate or on the scales or in your clothes or in your bank account. You're not your past and you're not your childhood, but you are enough. And I think women have a really hard time with being judged for how thin they are, how tall they are, how perfect they are, how perfect their kids are, and then they get older and then they feel that they're past their sell-by date. And I think that's a great shame. In countries like Japan, where they celebrate older women, they have the longest living women in the world. So don't fear aging, embrace it. You can defy it and celebrate it. But actually, there's something else if you want to be wise, because the brain is something called neurobics, and the brain is very brutal in use it or lose it. And a lot of women, as their fertile years disappear, they feel less attractive. And yet, you can have a really active mind. You know, we're all trying to fight aging. Like, I'm going to have Botox or makeup or a facelift to look younger. And that's all very nice. I totally get that. But looking younger with an old mind is a bit pointless. If you could have a young, active mind, then you have a young, active body, because we have 3 ages. We have our biological age, which is what our birth certificate says we are. And then we have our chronological age, which is the age we're aging at. And then we have the age we feel, our psychological age. And the age you feel affects the age you are. So when you do young things, you forever feel young, like Goldie Hawn, who's always giggling and laughing, will forever be girly. Sally Ann Field is the same. But if you want to have a young mind, you've got to do something called the wrong hand. So for instance, if you're right-handed, you'll always reach for everything with your right hand, your phone, you clean your teeth like that. And if you use the wrong hand, clean your teeth with your left hand, reach for your phone, you start to make different neurons. You'll find that wherever you start from in the house, you will always lead up the stairs with your right leg, wherever you start from, if you're right-handed. And if you make yourself go up the stairs on your left leg, the new wrong leg, wrong hand fires new neurons. When you clean your teeth, just lift your foot off the floor for a minute and then the other one, because it starts to make your mind work harder. It fires new neurons. It keeps your mind young. When you have a young mind, you have a young body. if you have an artificially young body, you'll have an older mind. But if you have a young mind, that's an amazing thing to have. And the mind doesn't really age. Neurons never age. But you can make both your body and mind younger by just doing neurobics. And it's an amazing thing.
I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah,
I'm
just for the wrong hand.
I'm going to do that. I was doing it as you were talking. I'm like, oh, this is very strange to brush my, or
just make yourself reach for things with the other hand.
My left. Okay, I'm going to do that.
And make yourself walk up the stairs.
I'm going to notice
with the left leg. It's so bizarre. However you start off in the house, you'll always fire up with this leg.
Wow.
Unless you're left hand, and then you'll fire up with the left leg.
Oh, this is so bizarre. The people that are watching this or that are listening, where can they go for more information if they're interested in RTT or if they want to reach out to you?
So if you go to marisapeer.com, we have loads of recording. We give away. We have a recording on wealth blocks, love blocks, health blocks, success blocks. They're all completely free. And people love the wealth wiring. They love the love wiring. So go to marisapeer.com. That's MARISAPEER.com. and take all these free products. If you want to know how to train with me and do what I do, or find someone that does what I do for you, go to Rapid Transformational Therapy.com. If you want to feel enough and get the first parts of our product, I'm Enough free, go to I'mEnough.com.
All of those links will be in the info button on this podcast if you're listening, or if you're watching this on YouTube. Everything will be below. I always like to point below.
Yeah, of course.
This is where it exists. Below. Marisa, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
You've done so much for me and just inspiring me, and I've learned so much from all of the value that you put out in the world. So I just want to say thank you for that, and for just being so amazing, and for being here with me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much for listening to the W.I.S.E podcast, and thank you to Marisa Peer for joining us. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. We really appreciate your support. This podcast is produced by me, Rosie Acosta, and Aviv Rubenstein. You can find Aviv on Instagram at Rambo Calorisian. Join us next week for another episode. This is your host, Rosie Acosta.